In 2014, Emma Watson gave her HeForShe speech at the United Nations to encourage boys and men to become more involved in tackling gender equality. The idea was for men to become more conscious about issues facing women. This became a key point and what can be now marked as fourth wave feminism. If you haven't seen my videos on first, second, and third wave feminism, you can find the full playlist linked above or in the description. As discussed throughout this series, feminism has consistently shown little interest in issues facing men and boys. The ideology frames history primarily as male dominance and female oppression, leaving little room for nuance or shared responsibility. Many people believe that feminism only became hostile towards men in its later waves. But anti-male bias has existed within feminist theory from the beginning. What's different now is visibility. Social media has amplified public shaming, collective blame, and open hostility towards men, pushing many modern men to disengage from dating and relationships altogether. HeForShe became emblematic of fourth wave feminism's approach. Men are encouraged to help, while simultaneously being blamed for everything. Issues like male suicide rates, educational underachievement, workplace-related deaths, and family court bias remain largely ignored within feminist discourse. Equality is framed as something men must support, but not something that applies equally to them. Fourth wave feminism truly accelerated with the MeToo movement, which went viral in 2017, although the phrase was originally coined by Tarana Burke in 2006. While exposing genuine abuse was necessary and overdue, the movement quickly expanded beyond its original scope. Accusations became culturally decisive, with reputations destroyed long before any investigation took place. Sexual violence is a serious crime. However, feminist rhetoric has stretched definitions of harm so broadly that intent, context, and due process are often sidelined. The result has been a culture of overt hostility towards men and a desire to blame any man who makes so much as an offhand comment towards a woman. Criminological research consistently shows that a small minority of men commit the majority of sexual and violent crimes, yet public narratives often treat male behavior as collectively dangerous. At the same time, male victims, who make up the majority of victims of non-sexual violent crime, are rarely centered in these discussions. Me Too framed violence primarily as a gendered issue rather than a broader humanitarian one, reinforcing feminism's pattern of only looking at ways in which women struggle despite claiming to be for equality. Fourth wave feminism also coincided with an intense debate over the meaning of gender. Social constructionist views became dominant in academia, emphasizing sociological definitions of gender over biological sex. In her 2010 book, Delusions of Gender, feminist writer Cordelia Fine introduced the term neurosexism, arguing that neuroscience exaggerates sex differences. By contrast, scientists like Luann Brizardine and Deborah So have stated that male and female brains show statistically meaningful differences shaped by both biology and evolution. Their research is based on empirical data, not ideology. Despite this, many modern feminists now argue that gender is purely self-defined. This has caused a major fracture within feminism itself, particularly between gender-critical feminists and those aligned with trans-inclusive, intersectional activism. This raises a fundamental question. How can feminism function as a women's movement if the category woman has no fixed meaning? I explore the social consequences of intersectional and neo-Marxist framing in my dystopian novel Tic-Tac-Toe, which depicts a society organized entirely around gender, race, and ideological conformity. Fourth wave feminism also saw the rise of girl boss or choice feminism, extending third wave feminism's alignment with capitalism. This is ironic considering feminism historically was very anti-capitalism. Pop culture figures like Beyoncé promoted messages of female dominance and empowerment as a brand. Campaigns like Ban Bossy and Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In encouraged women to adopt traditionally masculine workplace behaviors. Of course, this approach further ignores well-documented sex differences in personality traits and life priorities. Women, on average, have a greater interest in family involvement, which is why women are more likely to work part-time and also do shorter hours. At the same time, many radical feminists reject corporate feminism entirely, arguing that it trivializes feminist theory. In How to Be a Woman, Caitlin Moran claims that being a feminist just means having a vagina, and wanting to be in control of it. Moran's framing of feminism just everyone being polite to one another is ludicrous. This waters down feminism and makes it seem like feminism is just some benign humanitarian movement, which it is not. It is an ideological movement with serious social consequences. The Gamergate controversy of 2014 to 2015 marked another major moment in fourth wave feminism. Online activists like Anita Sarkeesian criticized gender representation in video games, sparking widespread backlash from gamers who viewed the critiques as moralistic and censorious. This period helped solidify modern internet culture wars, including cancel culture and the rise of political YouTube commentary. I grew up during this era and consumed much of what was known as anti-SJW content. The term SJW stands for social justice warrior and is no longer commonly used, but 10 years ago it was commonplace. As a teenager, I identified as a liberal feminist and watched many popular pro-feminist YouTubers like Lacey Green. But exposure to critics of feminism, like The Amazing Atheist, led me to question its assumptions. Over time, through consuming more content, reading books, and intellectual discussions online, I came to my own conclusions. I have now been a non-feminist woman for 10 years, since I was about 18. Fourth wave feminism has coincided with the growth of the manosphere, including MGTOW communities and other male-focused spaces. While some corners of these groups express hostility towards women, many men involved are simply disillusioned. They are frustrated by modern dating, family law, and cultural narratives that portray them as disposable or dangerous. Feminism's cultural dominance has profoundly shaped how men and women view one another, and not for the better. Marriage rates are declining, divorce remains high, and increasing numbers of young people are opting out of long-term relationships altogether. That is why I make these videos, to question feminist dogma and to offer an alternative framework for understanding gender relations, one grounded in reality, accountability, and mutual respect. If you want to be part of a space that supports women without being rooted in feminist misandry, join the subreddit Women's Advocates. Be sure to support my work by subscribing to the channel so I can continue to make videos that reach out to as many people as possible.